Hi, welcome to our channel. I'm planning to make detailed videos on AWS Lambda in coming week. Today session is AWS Lambda 101, first video in the series where we talk about overview of AWS Lambda, key use cases for Lambda, and very simple demo to get a feel of Lambda. So what is AWS Lambda? It is a serverless service. Run the code without provisioning or managing the infrastructure. Simply write and upload a code as zip file or a container image. Lambda automatically responds to code execution requests at any scale, from a few events per day to thousands per second. Save costs by paying only for the compute time you use by milliseconds instead of provisioning infrastructure upfront for the peak capacity. It supports number of programming languages like Java, Python, Go, PowerShell, Node.js, and C Sharp. Run code in response to the number of triggers. To name few, a file upload event in S3, SNS messages, and SQS, API gateway, DynamoDB table data changes, Kinesis streams, etc. Lambda functions can be used to solve wide range of scenarios. We'll talk about few key use cases here. Event-driven processing. Lambda is commonly used for event-driven processing. We can trigger Lambda function in response to events from AWS services like S3, object creation, SNS notifications, and DynamoDB table changes. This enables real-time data processing and automation. APIs and web applications. Lambda is a great choice for building serverless APIs and web applications using services like AWS API Gateway. We can create scalable and cost effective backends for mobile and web applications without managing the infrastructure. Data processing and ETL. So Lambda can be used for data extraction, transformation, and loading tasks. For example, we can process and transform data from various sources and load it into data warehouses like Amazon Redshift or S3. Real-time file processing. Lambda functions can process files as they upload to Amazon S3. This is useful for tasks like image or video processing, data validations, and data quality check, and more. Monitoring and alerting. So we can use Lambda to process logs and events from CloudWatch to generate alerts and reports. This is useful for building custom monitoring and alerting systems for the cloud infrastructure. With that quick introduction, we'll get into the demo. So we will cover more details about AWS Lambda, like its limitations, pros and cons, and pricing in the next video. Okay, so today's demo is not going to be of any real time scenario. It's just meant to give a flavor and feel of what AWS Lambda is, right? And how can we go ahead and create a Lambda function to achieve a task. So let's take a scenario where we have a source S3 bucket. As soon as the file lands in the source S3 bucket, we want to copy that file over to the target S3 path without doing any transformations and things like that. It's just one-on-one copy. So there are a couple of prerequisites for this demo. We need to have S3 source and target path. We will be using the same bucket though, and then Lambda execution role with the read and write access to the S3 path and permissions to the CloudWatch log. Okay, without wasting much time, let's get into the demo. Let's take a look at the prerequisites first. I'm on the S3 buckets. I already have a bucket. So within which I have a folder called input underscore data. And this is the place where we will upload the data that needs to be copied onto the another path, right? So for this demo purpose, we are not going to have another bucket. Instead, we will copy this data within the same bucket, but within a different folder. That's called output underscore data, which will get created once this Lambda function copies the data automatically. Second, let's look at the IAM role. We will go ahead and create a new role that will be used by AWS service and select Lambda from here. Click next. And here we need two different type of accesses, right? One, we need read and write access to the S3 bucket. Let's go ahead and search for S3 full access. For the real world scenario, we may want to restrict the access exactly, to the level we need. But for the demo purposes, I'm going ahead and selecting Amazon S3 full access to make things little simpler. And one more role we will have to add that will give an access to the CloudWatch log. AWS Lambda basic execution role, right? Let's go ahead and select this role as well, and then click next. We can see both of the policies what we have selected appearing here. Let's go ahead and give a name to the role, Lambda execution role demo. That's pretty much hit create role. Okay, our role has been created. I'm on AWS Lambda console. Under functions, there are no functions available right now. Let's hit create function. Let's author from scratch and give a name. Let's name it source to target file copy. For runtime, let us go ahead and select Python 3.7. Rest we can leave it default for the quick demo. Hit create function. This might take few seconds. Okay. So on the under code, you would see the Lambda function, and then there is some sample code with which this Lambda function.py got created. So we will copy our code, which does the file copy from one S3 path into the another S3 path, right? I'll quickly explain this script. This basically gets a key from the event. Whatever file gets uploaded, the path of that file will get assigned to the key. That's going to be the source key. And from source key, we are deriving the target key. I'm just spending output data in front of it after taking the file name from the source key, right? And then we have defined the destination bucket over here. And line 22, where we do the file copy from the source into the destination bucket into the target key, right? That's very simple script which does a copy from one S3 path into the another S3 path, right? Go ahead and add a trigger. Click on add trigger. Under trigger configuration, select the source. It's going to be S3 in our case, and select the bucket. And under event type, all object create events is selected by default. But let's take a look at what other event types we have got. We have delete events and we have also some restore events, right, from Glacier and so on and so forth. But let's go ahead with the object create events. And prefix, this is the place where we will be placing the input file from the S3 bucket. Let's go ahead and take a look quickly under buckets. So we will be placing our file under input underscore file folder. Let's go ahead and add this as a prefix. Okay, let's go ahead and check this box. Since we are using same bucket as a source as well as target for the Lambda function, sometimes it may happen that um, the write operation from Lambda might invoke the same Lambda function again, right? If you are not separating the folder where we are reading from and where we are writing to, right? Just to avoid, I will go ahead and do this acknowledgement explicitly and go ahead and say add. Okay, the trigger has been added. I think all set. Now let us go ahead and place a file in the S3 input path and see whether it is getting copied. So we already have the output data. This is where we are expecting the files to be copied by Lambda. At the moment, we don't have any file. Let me upload a sample file into the input file. Okay, file has been uploaded successfully. Now let's come back to Lambda and go to monitor and see whether our function has been triggered. Don't see anything yet. Let's go to the CloudWatch log. Okay, so we have a log created. Okay, now let's go back to our output data. Okay, I think it's not copied. The reason being, I don't think we have deployed this code yet, right? Let's go ahead and say deploy. Okay, now our code has been successfully deployed. Now let's go ahead and upload another file and see whether it is getting copied. I'm navigating to the input file and hit upload. The upload. Okay, file has been uploaded successfully. Now let's come back to the Lambda, go to monitor. Yeah, our function has been triggered. Let's go to CloudWatch log. It says new files uploaded to the source bucket, and it says file copied to the destination bucket successfully. Now let's go back to the S3 and navigate to our output folder. Yeah, here we go. We have the file copied from input underscore file folder into output underscore data folder. All right. So this demonstrates a very simple Lambda function of copying a file from one S3 to another S3 path. This just to give a feel of how we go ahead and put a code and run it right from the Lambda perspective. So we will get into much more real world scenarios in the upcoming sessions. Thanks for joining in. I'll meet you in our next video. Thank you.